Self-directed learning is a useful approach to reflective practice and can lead reflective practice and reflective practitioners into the future. And a key aspect of self-directed learning is therefore ownership of learning. And in terms of ownership of learning, the key characteristics, personality characteristics of the individual teacher are important to self-directed learning. Teachers who take personal responsibility for learning, take personal responsibility over ownership of their learning, are what self-directed learning is about. And in order to do this, there is an attribute that the teacher has, which is about self-management of learning. And self-management in self-direction is really then considered as an instructional process for the individual teacher in terms of assessing the needs that they have as teachers, identifying resources that they need or can use in terms of learning and developing, and then implementing learning activities and monitoring those learning activities, and then of course evaluating the outcomes of learning. As well as self-management, self-directed learning includes the reflective practitioner in monitoring the process of learning, self-monitoring. This focuses the reflective practitioner on not only thinking about experiences, but thinking about reflection, or in other words, both the cognitive and the metacognitive aspects of learning. And these are internal to the teacher in terms of making meaning of the information that they're acquiring and integrating their experience and the knowledge that they have with new knowledge as it evolves over time. And self-directed learning also includes extension in terms of learning. The reflective practitioner, who is self-directed, has total control over the choice of what to learn and how to learn, and of course how to evaluate what they have learnt and how well they have learnt it. And so there are some possible behavioural indicators that we need to consider as reflective practitioners. These things that we need to consider about applying to ourselves in order to be self-directed in reflective practice. And one behavioural indicator is the teacher identifying, determining what their particular goals for learning are. Also, the teacher needs to identify what they can do in terms of achieving those goals. What are the learning tasks? And in relation to the activity of learning, how the individual is going to monitor the progress, chart the learning towards achieving those goals. Another indicator is that the teacher needs to challenge themselves in terms of achieving goals, and therefore goals should not necessarily be easy to achieve, but they should be challenging in themselves. And so what the teacher needs to be able to do is to formulate questions around the actions and the goals which they can begin to operationalize. And the teacher then also explores the possibilities, and in relation to those possibilities puts things into action and makes decisions about their roles. Another behavioural indicator would be that the teacher is able to self-manage time and to self-plan the direction towards achieving those goals rather than it coming from elsewhere. And also the teacher needs to be able to critically reflect on their learning and also to think about where feedback comes from and how to acquire feedback to monitor the process of learning. And Finally, another behavioral indicator of a self-directed reflective practitioner is that the teacher is able to apply what they've learned in contexts which are new or different, rather than just repeating learning in contexts which are usual.